Good afternoon, everybody. I hope your day is going very well. So I'm very lucky to be joined today by Gary MacDonald, who is now the head of sales. Gary, is that the official term?
I think it is. Thank you very
There we go.
much, Chris. Yes.
Congratulations. You've made it. Another promotion.
I don't know about that yet, but I'm on my way.
So very lucky to be joined by Gary today, who works with Sprift. Gary was a very good and very successful estate agent for a long time. Gary, do you want to give us a quick 30-second introduction to yourself outside of my introduction already?
Of course, yeah. I was, in fact, an estate agent. I joined in 1987, so I was in it for an awfully long time. Well, 4.5 years ago now, I was using Sprift as an agent. And within a couple of weeks, a conversation took place. Within a couple of weeks, I was working for them. The rest is history.
Absolutely. I don't want to make you feel old here, Gary, but I was born in 1986. So
Thank
sorry,
you for
mate.
that. Yeah.
No problem at all. No, you look younger. It's okay. So what kind of made you want to make the jump from sort of being on the front line estate agency to kind of the world of prop tech? What made you kind of make the leap?
Yeah, it's an interesting question, that. So I've always loved estate agency. Obviously, I was in it for well over 30 years, and I still love it. But I was, how do we put this? I was at the time, so 4.5 years ago, I was starting to fall out of love with it. Not because I didn't like the business, but because of some of the sort of the dynamic of where I was working, what I was doing. But I still wanted to be involved in a estate agency because I love the property industry, and I love, what goes with it, and dealing with people, connecting with people. But I was working with Sprift. I was using Sprift as an agent, had some conversations with them, really loved the data, loved how rich the data was and how it protected me, but helped me to win business as well, and helped me to sort of appear to be knowledgeable, even if I wasn't. And the conversation took place, and they were quite keen for me to work with them and introduce Sprift to the whole country. And I really fancied the sound of that, so I gave that a go.
And here we are. Here we are 4 years later. So very good. So you mentioned data there. So obviously Sprift are all about data. I'm sure you've got data points on absolutely everything in the world, effectively, when it comes to property. How
Yeah.
can that data make an estate agent's life better, easier, more profitable? What's the things they can use it for?
Yeah, a number of ways, Chris. A number of ways. So first and foremost, yes, a number of data points that we're giving directly to agents. So I think it's around about the count at the moment. It's about 270 different data points, different sources, which means that it's actually unrivaled from that point of view. But what it's doing is it does a couple of things. So the data that's given to an agent instantly on any property in the UK, they can then build a report, a market-leading report, to go and win business with that. And the perception of the client once they presented that report is that of an agent that not only has worked very hard to research for their property in the area that it sits within, but also is very knowledgeable and very interested and really wants to help. So that's the first thing. The other thing that it is that it protects the agent quite nicely as well, because it's pulling in so many different points of data that you wouldn't know about as an agent if you didn't have such a thing, and the vendor very often doesn't know about it either. It protects the agent because it lets the agent know everything they need to know before they leave their office or their home office and go and see that client. So it's very helpful from that point of view as well. But it's the reports that you can build as an agent with that data, fully branded and white labeled, are actually pretty impressive. So when they're presented to a client, usually, it's enhancing what that agent's already doing, which of course is the idea.
Absolutely. And this might be a very stupid question, so sorry if it is. Where is all this data coming from? Is this from the census? Is this from my Tesco's club card? Like, where's all this information coming from?
So the data comes in from direct from source on those sort of 270 or so different points. So, for example, Environment Agency, Historic England, Ofcom, Ofsted, Land Registry, it goes on and on and on. So it's all from official source and pulled in by legitimate feed.
Yep.
So to sit here and sort of list all 270 of them we're not going to do that today. But it's all from official source, so it can be relied upon. You can be confident in using it, and actually, quite often, it can really sort of blow the potential client away because it is information most of the time that they don't know themselves.
Oh, amazing! So instead of an agent going to lots of many places that they could go to, instead you press a couple of buttons, and as if by magic, you are the local expert because you've got all the data on the postcode, the house, the street, just like that.
Yeah, it really is. I know that sounds quite simple. It is as simple as that, yes.
Simple as the level I'm at. So simple's good. We're all good with that. So how does this data potentially improve the process from a homeowner's point of view as well, or is it purely the agents who benefit from having this sort of insight, or does it help the homeowners as well?
No, I think it helps the homeowners because sometimes there's data, sort of identified in a report, on somebody's property that can help them. Even if they may not be deciding to sell just yet. I mean, they might want to just know more about the property and then make a decision later down the line. So it's giving them, complete information on their property, including planning permissions, planning applications, decisions, etc. So it's helping them. But I think it helps the perception. If they are thinking of selling, it's helping the perception of the agent that's presenting that. So it's helping the client to make a decision on who best to use. And ultimately, I suppose you and I both being sort of homeowners and home sellers, we would be confident in somebody who really does have that amount of information and therefore is probably in a better place to then go and sell it for you properly to the right buyer.
Yeah, well, absolutely. I think I've just had a video call with Simon Ledbetter actually, and the big thing that Simon focuses on is that most estate agents out there, with regard to marketing, especially, but it transfers over from this quite easily, is they'll take a guess. They'll take a guess at the information. They go, I think my clients are like this, and I think my area is like this, and I think my homeowner wants this. When really, when you look at the data and look at the information, it's a completely different image.
Yeah, absolutely, entirely. I mean, the other way that it helps as well is that if you're an agent and you're in front of somebody who's looking to sell a house, obviously part of that questioning situation that you'll have there is, what's your onward move? What are you looking to do? Are you looking to buy again? If the answer is yes, where are you looking to buy again? Can you give me some of the addresses that you might be interested in, even if they're 300 miles away? And I will show you a buyer's report. It's what we at Sprift call a key facts for buyers. A buyer's report with all of the data I've just presented on your house. I'll show you the data on the houses that you're interested in buying. So you're helping them there as well.
Good. I suppose that from a homeowner's goal point of view, because obviously their goal isn't necessarily to sell their home. Their goal is to get to Slough or wherever they're going to effectively in the future. Hopefully not Slough. And that assists them in that process to go forward with. Because actually, if you're just focusing on their purchase and just their sale, you're actually
Yeah.
missing the entire picture from their point of view. Because actually, they want to get to their next property and get that sorted.
That's correct. I mean, as an agent, you're looking at the whole moving process. If you're going to help a client, you need to be able to offer them the ability to help with the whole transaction. So if there was an onward transaction as well, certainly offer your help, with that as you can. Yeah.
Great. And can you use Sprift technology and the data points to kind of look at the market trends about particular properties, areas, south of the UK, whatever it may be, to kind of see if it's up, down, moving sideways at all?
Yeah, I mean, it's with the data that's available, so you can look at a location and you can see, directly from the Sprift dashboard, how the prices have been changing each month, each quarter, each half year, each year, each 10 years, so you can actually track what the prices are doing in that exact location, and then be knowledgeable about that, for yourself and also in speaking to a potential client. So it will give you that sort of information in terms of what the prices are doing. It will also give you information on what's going on around that client. So it will show you properties that have been sold, what they were sold for.
Mhm.
Yeah, from land registry. It will show you what's for sale. It will show you what's under offer. It will even show you what's been on the market that's been withdrawn. And therefore you can really, really drill into exactly what's going on directly around that house or in that area, because you can do, in terms of search, you can do, 3 miles plus. You can go as far or as close into any particular area as you want to. So very helpful from that point of view.
That's very, very clever stuff, to say the least. I'm sure you've got some very clever guys behind the scenes who are doing all the
There,
heavy lifting effectively.
there are, and it's not me. I'm just a salesman.
You're just the looks, Gary. You're just the front man. So with the data and the guys behind the scenes and the heavy lifting, I appreciate some of this might be a bit trade secrety, behind the scenes sort of thing. What's the future looking like with regard to the prop tech world, with regard to Sprift? I appreciate we've got lots of technology coming out, like AI is probably the biggest one that everyone kind of knows of at the moment.
Yeah.
What's the future look like for prop tech in that side?
Yeah. Okay. So at Sprift, there's a lot of things going on. I mean, with technology, and I'm commenting on Sprift here. We seem to be putting an enhancement or an addition or a new product thought process in place every other day, if not every day. And I think that's the way the technology moves forward. I think it's the way the property technology moves forward. So, for instance, at the moment, we provide it to estate agents and lettings agents, of course, but we also have what we call other verticals. So we're providing it to conveyancers, to surveyors, to mortgage brokers, a number of other types of property people. So there are also there's work constantly going on those verticals to provide the product in the way that they want it, in the way that they use it. So that's ongoing. That happens forever. But one of the big things that's happening at the moment, and we're all hands on deck on this at Sprift at the moment. So, and it's this week that everybody's been hearing about it from us, is material information regulations.
Yep.
So we've been putting a lot of work in for a long time in readiness for this, so that we can provide agents with everything, or as much of everything as they need to comply with the regulations that are coming in or have come in. So there's a lot of work taking place on that at the moment, and that will be ongoing because, we were already providing most of that data anyway, but we've had to try and find more of it to add into the dashboard and therefore the reporting to help agents and to be, the data provider that can actually do it, better than anyone else. So that's going on at the moment. I'm having conversations every day at the moment about that, because we're providing currently up to 87% of what you need for that material information regulation, and then helping and assisting agents to tell them some of the other questions that they need to ask to get further information on the appointments with sellers to add to that and then be fully compliant. So a lot of work going on, Chris, at the moment.
Yeah, you said you were busy, and it sounds like it, Gary. You weren't making it up.
No.
Good. So with the back on to have a look at the data side of things. So obviously there's a huge amount of data that is generated through the multiple kind of inputs you guys have on that side. How can estate agents, obviously there's the core element of it, which is, looking a bit smarter on a market appraisal, for example. How can estate agents use that information on things like social media, for example? How can they leverage that information they've got into their sort of personal brand to make them look like a knowledgeable expert in the local area through their social media?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's a really great question. And social media, I saw a post of yours about how often you should be posting on social media as an agent. So that was an interesting watch. Yeah, social media, very important. What you can do with Sprift is that when you build reports for buyers, obviously you're wanting to attract buyers for all the lovely listings that you bring on as an estate agent. You can build a Sprift report in two different ways. So you can build it as an electronic interactive report, and you can build it as a PDF handout, if you like. So some agents are using the handout as a brochure, when they're meeting people at viewings and showing them and giving them those to look at, which is great. But if you use the interactive version that you can build, and it takes 60 seconds to build one on one of your listings, you can take the link to that interactive report, you can put it in your CRM system, and it can then appear on Rightmove as a key fact for buyers against your listing. So that's one way you can use it. The other way is you can then take that link that you built for that buyer's report and put it all over your social media. So new listing, we're pleased, we're proud to offer this particular property. Here's a link to the report. Please take a look. And actually, if you want to contact us to get more information on it or want to come and see it, there's a button inside the report where you can contact us directly. So now what I've found is that agents are doing that. They're posting it on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok now. I've lots of that going on as well. There is the report. There's the fully informative report for any potential buyers out there to see instantly and know everything they need to know, so they can then decide, should we go and see this property? But the other way it's working, if you post it constantly on social media and in those other locations I mentioned, is that you will have other local sellers that will see those reports, look at them, hopefully like them, and then think, we're thinking of selling, or we want some advice. Let's call these guys out, because this is obviously how they do their listing. So those are some of the ways that it can be helpful.
Yeah, I like that a lot, and I presume actually I've never really thought about that. The fact that you put the key fact for buyers up there, on there, and other people or homeowners in that street will look at that report and go, hang on, Gary knows a lot about that property, so therefore by default he'll know a lot about my property. Therefore Gary's obviously head and shoulders above the other guys that are just making it up, basically.
I think so, and I think when they go into those reports, they really do look quite nice as well. They're branded, white labeled, they look really nice. It's your report as an agent, so that you're getting a chance to put your brand out there as well, and a brand with a branded report that's very nicely put together, but shows ultimate knowledge. So yeah, it can only be helpful.
do you find that I'm a big fan of the hand delivering process? I know it's old fashioned, I know whatever, but I think it's a time for old fashioned now and again. Do many of your agents print off and hand deliver the key facts of buyer's report or reports for their homeowners do, or is a lot, or do you find the majority of it is email based?
There's a mix. There's a mix. Now, the reason why there's a mix, I'll explain it. So, and in actual fact, it's a good question because I used to use key facts for buyers when I was still an agent using Sprift initially. So I used to use it in a number of ways. I used to use it to show buyers the information. Of course I did. But one of the other ways I used to do it is I used to go hunting for new listings, door knocking, commonly known as
I'm
door
interested.
knocking,
Yeah.
outing, whatever you want
Yeah.
to call it. Some agents are into that, some agents are against it, you know. But my opinion is obviously just mine. So I used to do door knocking. So what I used to do is I used to print those reports on all the properties that were struggling to sell in my area, and then go to the door, have a little knock, you know, hand them over or put them through the door to generate interest in perhaps listing with me. So that was one of the ways that I used to do it. But you can use it, you know, to go out and hand deliver to people, to, you know, to try and maybe persuade somebody to sell who's not selling yet, and say, look at this one, you know, like you would with a brochure, but it's just more factual, it's more data, so, you know, give them a better understanding of whether they should go ahead and consider moving. So yeah, it can be used in those ways.
I think it's about, you know, in a world and an environment where lots of people go, all estate agents are the same, and you just bang it on Rightmove and whatever else it may be. If there's anything you can do to kind of stick yourself head and shoulders above the set of the rest of the estate agents out there and say, actually, we have this data, this information, you know, we're very fact based and we'll base it on these kind of key metrics behind the scene. You know, that will stand head and shoulders above the other guys who are going, yeah, I think it's a good market. Yeah, it might be a good market, it might be a bad market, might sell, might not sell. How many buyers you got? Don't know, lots probably.
Yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, it's powerful. It's really powerful. But the thing is, you know, excuse me, with our report, you can use the interactive version to send to people as well. So it might be somebody that you've been out to value in years gone by, and they still haven't moved, and you could sell them. You could send them an email link to a report, something you're trying to sell at the moment. Those reports are tracked. So once they're opened and looked at, and there's a running total on them as well of how many times they've been looked at, you're being alerted to that fact. So you can then proactively decide whether you should maybe contact somebody. So you can take away that sort of where something's gone a bit cold because you've never been in contact, you've been in contact for so long ago. You can warm that back up again for yourself by making a decision on how many times they've looked at something.
Yep.
That's great.
One of the first bits of software I got for my business was tracked email because I knew I wanted to know A, it'd been sent, B, they've received it. If they've clicked on my links, on my video, downloaded anything from it, I want to know. So spoiler alert, anybody, if you get emails from me, I know you've looked at them. So there we go.
Yes.
Good. So what's the most popular product that Sprift's produced? Is it the fact for home buyers? What's the most popular product you guys have or most people use through the site?
Market appraisal report is first and foremost, I would
Yep.
suggest, and that's for sales and for lettings.
Right.
So, you know, that was what initially Sprift was built on that for agents was, you know, market appraisal reports, you know, business winning reports.
Mhm.
Key facts advice is incredibly important as well. It's going to have to become more important now because of material information. So we've got a lot of work to do at this end to actually explain to agents why they should be using it more. But it's not just about those reports. It's also about some of the other products we've got. So we've got a product, for instance, where you can, from the whole of market perspective, you can look at your competitor and market analysis and see, you know, exactly who's doing what in your market, where you sit within that, what your supply and demand is in that location, how you're sitting in comparison to your competitors every week. You know, comparing yourself directly with people. It's a real analysis tool in there, and also a prospecting tool as well. You know, that helps people to know everything that's on the market. So yeah, really
Right.
good.
I imagine you get some very competitive estate agents who get that ranking up every 15 minutes to see if they've got the most listings, most under offer, most sold.
Yes, yes.
Not saying
And
I would,
you
but you could
and
do it.
you and I both know, Chris, from the agency backgrounds that we came from, that was incredibly important. If you were really, really interested in where you were, you know, to have that now and to not just try to imagine how that is worth its weight in gold.
No, I like that. I like that a lot. Estate agents are a competitive lot by nature, lots of the time. So anything that can increase that competition, I'm always up for it.
Yeah.
So, quick question for you is probably one of our final questions now. So what's the one way you think agents could use Sprift better and to its full potential that they're probably not doing at the moment? So what's the sort of bit they can take a little bit further to get a little bit more maybe bang for their buck or to use the product a little bit better?
I'm going to go back to that key facts for buyers again,
Yeah.
because it's picking up now, because we're getting the message out to agents that it is there and you should be using it. And it's going to pick up more now because of material information, because the data that gets pulled through to that is going to satisfy an awful lot of material information regulation necessity. But it really is very powerful, not just for that, but actually for winning other business by showing people that you do provide something that is above and beyond what perhaps other agents are not doing. So I think that that's the one. And I look at, the users, Sprift users, and it's a constant education to try and keep saying, remember that's there, use that more. It will help you to win more business. It will find you better buyers. It will solidify a sale if you put it together, because a decision has been made by a buyer on what's in that report, and therefore is hopefully more solid. So that's the one I think is probably key to it, if I'm honest.
Yeah, I think that's really, really good. And I think that, as a product in whole, I mean, anything that makes you stand head and shoulders above the competition and gives you that edge on market appraisals and across the board, absolutely gold on that side.
Yeah,
Gary,
yeah.
thank you so much, mate, for your time today. I know as you said, start off with, you're a busy guy with lots going on, and material information probably hasn't helped with that in any way, shape, or form. So without further ado, I really thank you for your time, mate. If anyone wants to get hold of you, what's the best way of getting hold of you?
Email Gary with the one R, Gary at sprift.com, or my mobile, which is 07921 451 418. Feel free to call me.
Fantastic. Does anyone spell Gary with two R's? I mean, my dad's called Gary and he only spells with one R, so that's pretty much my line in the sand. So
I have there's a couple of problems I have with that. So I get called Gary with two R's sometimes, even when I've sent an email that's got one R in it. But also the spelling of my surname. So I get called MacDonald rather than MacDonald an awful lot every day.
Yeah, you want a nice boring name like Chris Webb. Can't really get that too wrong. Gary, thank you so much for your time, mate. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Great to see you
Cheers,
again.
mate. Cheers. See you soon.
Cheers. Take care.